Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield with Manny Things, and welcome to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting, the show where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you enjoy this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Things. Without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast where I talk about whatever I want with whoever I want within the shooting industry. But first, let's plug today's sponsor. Today's show is sponsored by Go Fast Don't Suck. That's Bill Duda's company. So go check out gofastdon'tsuck.net for your dry fire targets, your t-shirts, your hats, your memes if you want to go on the internet and look for some funny competitive shooting memes. So go check out Bill at gofastdon'tsuck.net or on Instagram. Have a good day. But today's show is not about Bill. Today's show is about Mr. Lafe Kunkle. Lafe, how are you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. It's a wonderful spring-ish day.
Oh, it was a beautiful day.
I almost wanted to go shooting today, but work came first, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, Lafe, I'm glad you're actually on the show. It's been a long one in the making. We started talking back in July, I want to think, about this one. So
yeah, I'm sorry for the delay. Just
don't feel bad, brother.
Things just keep coming up and I get sidetracked.
But this is actually a pretty good time for me. I mean, at that time I had a long list of people I had to get on, and it just kind of made it a good thing. But for the people who don't know who you are, which is kind of crazy, if anyone in the competitive shooting world doesn't know the name Lafe Kunkle, who is Lafe?
I've been shooting USPSA for 4 years now this month. So not a whole lot of time in USPSA, but really jumped into it with both feet and got involved at a bunch of different levels. I got started in northern West Virginia, where I was living at the time. And only a couple months after I started shooting USPSA, my wife and I moved to Lexington, Kentucky for her internal medicine fellowship. She's a pulmonologist, and she was doing a pulmonology and critical care fellowship at University of Kentucky. And that brought us down here. So my first order of business when we moved down here was to find a club to shoot at, because I was only like 2 months into USPSA at the time, and I got bit pretty hard by it. So I got set up with BlueGrass Sportmans League in Wilmore, Kentucky. It's about 45 minutes south of where I am. Sorry about that. And got involved with their monthly USPSA matches right off the bat, and ended up becoming the assistant match director, and soon after that, the head match director for the monthly USPSA matches at BlueGrass Sportsman's League. And shortly after that, I started dabbling in holster making, and it was a pretty short amount of time, probably within 6 months, I started my holster company, GX Products, and came up with my Vice holster design, got a provisional utility patent on that, and I've been pushing that pretty hard. It's been a pretty successful product that's pretty prominent within USPSA now.
It definitely has. It's quite interesting. You can walk around the range and be like, you can kind of count the holsters now. It's not like just one on the range. It's like it's like multiples per squad.
It's crazy going to major matches all over the place and going to nationals and just seeing how many there are. It's a pretty cool feeling.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, even if we looked at the equipment survey, right? Like, your numbers compared to last year to this year, like, were exponential growth.
Yeah.
And that's just on like the national scale. Like, I bet there's a lot of people who still didn't go to nationals.
So absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's the best metric we have, really, but that's not really representative of the whole membership. There's a lot more out there than that.
Yeah. It's definitely like your people who like the national level. It's the I'd say the really true diehards are the people who can make it happen. So, I mean,
yeah.
And it's freaking awesome to see those kind of numbers. But, so Lafe, you moved from West Virginia to Lexington, Kentucky. You're starting at BlueGrass Sportsman's League. So you started in Virginia, but what was the club scene like there compared to BlueGrass?
West Virginia, but well, I'm not saying this is you. There's some people that don't know West Virginia's state. They call it Western Virginia. But there is not much USPSA in West Virginia. I think there's one, maybe two sanctioned clubs. The one's all the way south of Charleston, West Virginia. But for the most part, we shot in Western Pennsylvania, which wasn't too far away. So around the whole Pittsburgh area, there's a very active scene. and they shoot lots of local matches, great matches up there. They shoot majors up there. But no, there's not a lot going on USPSA wise within West Virginia.
Now, like if I'm not, I didn't even know West Virginia was in Area 5. I always thought it was like an Area 8.
Well, yeah, it's kind of split. There used to be one club in West Virginia that was technically in the Kentucky section, and that club, I guess, has disbanded and is no longer in the Kentucky section. So yeah, they are in Area 5, but they're closer to activity in Area 8, like Shadowhawk, where they have the Area 8 championship, is in West Virginia, but I guess that's Area 8. It's within West Virginia, but I guess it's not in Area 5.
Wow. Yeah, there's weird things. Like I know we in Michigan have our Michigan section, but we have independent clubs within our section. So
right.
I guess that makes sense. And
yeah. Is it Michigan 2 sections, or is that Illinois is 2 sections?
Illinois has 2 sections. So Illinois has the Northern Illinois section, which is like Chicago and up, or north of Chicago. And then the rest is just Illinois section.
Right.
Which was weird. I didn't think like one state like that needed 2 sections, but
right.
I guess it's a thing.
Yeah, it's I guess common in a bunch of states that there's multiple sections within the state, just depending on the geographic distribution of the members. But Kentucky is a single section, just the entire state. We used to have a club just across the river in Indiana that was also in the Kentucky section, and that club has disbanded. Well, not disbanded; they lost their range. I guess they just vacated the range a couple months ago, and they're looking for another property.
That's no fun.
No.
Now, how do you know how many clubs are within the Kentucky section?
Active on paper, I think it's 7, but really, I think it's more like 4 that are really active.
Now, with the Kentucky section, what weekend is your match on?
It's the first Sunday of the month.
Oh, okay. It's not a bad Sunday. That's definitely really not a bad day.
No, we have a great kind of arrangement with all the clubs within the state, and then the one club just across the border in southern West Virginia, and then the clubs just across the northern border in Cincinnati. So within an hour and a half, we have at least one match every weekend that we can shoot.
Well, that's pretty good then. And now, when you look at your local match, what's your level of participation that shows up for the match each month?
Depends on the time of the year. Typically around 40, between 40 and 50. When it slows down, it'll be around 30. But we'll see what the whole component and ammo shortage situation looks like this year. We have a lot of new shooters showing up every month. A lot of new gun owners, and they're very eager to learn this style of shooting and just basic gun handling in general and proficiency. And they have been coming back, but especially for new shooters that don't reload and are dependent entirely on purchasing ammunition, it's pretty restrictive for them.
I mean, it's great that new people are coming to the sport and new gun owners are showing up. That's how we grow the sport, right? We bring the new people in and we keep bringing them back. So I'm glad you and I are glad that we don't have to rely on box ammunition to get us going.
Right. Yeah, I'm very fortunate that I panic bought primers at the beginning of COVID when things first started getting scary. I was just looking at like COVID supply chain issues, and I bought way more than I was comfortable with, and I'm glad I did.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. So I know from listening to another episode, what was it? Behind the Lens with Brian Conley from Hunters HD Gold. You did Olympic airborne rifle or small bore air.
Small bore. Yeah, small bore and air rifle. It's 2 separate guns. Yeah.
So do you miss doing that kind of shooting?
In some ways, yes, but doing it for so long, for so many hours a week, it got pretty kind of monotonous. I kind of burned out on it, and it was the longer I'm away from it, the more I miss it. I still do some small bore disciplines. I've been getting into NRL 22, which is a lot of fun. It's a different game for sure, but there's a lot of positional shooting aspects that do carry over. The mechanics carry over, but it's a new game to learn.
Gotcha.
That's a fast growing sport.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm assuming you have that at your club.
We do. Yeah, we host a monthly NRL 22 match, and there's a couple other clubs within the state that also do.
That's pretty cool. It's kind of nice. Probably you're able to go and hit all these different disciplines at BlueGrass since you're so close.
Oh yeah, we do a lot. We have just within our pistol division, we have multiple divisions that operate within the club. There's pistol, shotgun, muzzleloader, archery, rifle. There's a casting division, but we operate under the pistol division, and NRL 22 actually falls within our pistol division just because the people that were interested in running that are within the pistol division. And just within pistol, we have USPSA, IDPA, Steel Challenge, Cowboy Action, and NRL 22. And we have a monthly match for every one of those disciplines.
Wow. That's a full calendar. That's for sure.
Yep.
You probably can't go to the club without something going on.
Oh, and we have multi-gun as well. That's been a little sporadic just with match directors, kind of changes in life situations. The multi-gun hasn't been as consistent, but we do have a multi-gun weekend as well.
Oof. Like I said, you can't miss anything over there.
No.
If you miss that USPSA, you can go shoot the IDPA match, I guess, right?
Yep. Yeah, we touch all the bases for sure.
Yeah. Now, with being, some people probably don't know, is you are the president of BlueGrass Sportsman's League.
Yes, I am.
Do a lot of people like to call it a club, like BlueGrass Sportsman's Club or whatnot?
The members call it a league. It is a club. I'm not sure what the origins of naming it a league are. It reminds me of like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or something.
Mm-hmm. That was a good movie. People, go watch that movie, people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are you all in charge of as being the president besides just being the president?
A number of different club functions. There's a handful of full-time employees at the club, from our operations manager, and then his direct reports to our office staff. And then we have another full-time employee in our shotgun division. And I kind of they're pretty much self-regulating. They're fantastic people. They know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They kind of report to me what their plans are for the week, and see if there's anything that's on my punch list that needs to be taken care of. I run the monthly board meetings, and I run the monthly general membership meetings. So I'm pretty much the members come to me with any questions, comments, concerns, and we work out plans to get those resolved. There's representatives from each one of the division that serve on the board that report to me. I appoint different committees for different kind of special interest operations within the club, and kind of facilitate those committee meetings and kind of steer those committees in a direction until they determine which direction they want to take these different things. Like we have a youth committee, we have a training committee, we have a membership committee, a farm committee. There's an active farm on our property as well. The property is split kind of not in half, but maybe 2/3 of it is the range operations and 1/3 of it's farm. And we have livestock on the farm. Just pretty much anything that comes my way, find a way to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Now, has there been any major challenges that you've had with taking on that role?
Just trying to gauge what the needs are of the membership as a whole. There's a lot of different groups of people that use the property for many different reasons, and coming to realize that more and more as I continue my time as president has been interesting. We have 1,500 acres of property that the club encompasses, and there's people that are there for competitive pistol shooting, competitive shotgun shooting. There's people that belong to the club that don't shoot at all. They come out there for the hiking trails. They come out there because it's away from the city and the light pollution, and they just stargaze at night. There's a lot of different uses. So just kind of hearing out what everybody has to say and what everyone's needs are for the club and addressing them appropriately.
Wow, that's That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I didn't know there was hiking trails or stargaze. That's kind of cool. But so with your time, is there anything you're really trying to change or improve at the league?
We're always looking at facility improvements. We're working on building additional pistol bays in the pistol division right now. Shotgun is always doing improvement projects in their portion of the club. They've sunk a lot of time and a lot of money into their area, and it's a top rate facility over there. Our shotgun division has thrown more registered competition targets this year than every other club in the state of Kentucky combined. They are by far the most active shotgun sport division within the state. We're looking at different plans for different longer range rifle ranges on the property, and just looking to grow the events that we host on the property. We just got done this past weekend with what's called the Heartbreak Run and Gun event. It's a veterans charity match that is an 8-mile run through woods and obstacle courses and all different things with 5 different shooting stations mixed into that run. So you're running with all your gear, your rifle, all your ammo, your pistol, and crawling through mud and then shaking it all off and shooting. That was a big success this past weekend. They have about 100 competitors come through for that, and that match sells out in less than a minute every year, and there ends up being like a 100-person wait list. People come from all over for that. So we're looking at doing a second one of those this year because the demand is so high.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome. We have something like that up here in Michigan at one of our ranges. It's called the Wolverine 5K. Kind of the same kind of principle, but I don't know what they raise money for, but it's always a cool event. And I'm assuming that event's pretty awesome since you have a big ass wait list.
Yeah.
That's cool. How many pistol bays do you currently have in the pistol division then?
There are 12 pistol bays right now. Our short-term project is to take one of the bigger pits that had some overhead baffle bays constructed a long time ago for like a remedial training purpose that is no longer needed. We've trained our membership out of the need for those bays. So we're tearing down those bays to open that pit up and then partition that entire pit into 2 bays. So that'll add another bay in the short term. And then we're looking at adding 2 to 3 more big bays in the next year.
Excellent.
So keep growing every year.
Mm-hmm. Make the Kentucky Sectional match better, make Area 5s in the future even better. So,
yep.
That's awesome. Well, Lafe, have you taken any formal training in USPSA?
A little bit. I took one class with Elias, I guess it was about a year and a half ago. And then this past fall, I took a class with Ben Steger. And I am also hosting Mason Lane at my club in July and Ben Steger in September.
Now, what was your kind of biggest takeaway from Elias?
Elias is very, it's a lot about mental game with him. There's strong fundamentals, but it's a lot to do with your mindset and just positivity and leaving behind what just happened on a stage, whether it's good or bad, and not carrying it over into the next stage. He goes through that quite a bit.
Yeah, and that definitely is a thing. If you want to be a serious competitor, you kind of got to leave them dumpster fires at that bay.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Now, Lafe, I know you shoot a lot of different divisions, but is there one you're going to try to stick to for 2022, or are you just going to play in all of them again?
No, I need to narrow my focus down a little bit. Right now, I'm shooting single stack through Classic Nationals, and then once Classic Nationals is over, it's going to be production for the rest of the year. Now I'm going to shoot production nationals in Colorado, and then have to gauge what the state of production is at the end of this year. If it really looks like it's dying off, because at a local level, it's definitely dying off. I might have one other person that I shoot against when I shoot production locally that takes it seriously. So next year is probably looking like a mix of carry optics and limited.
Now, between those two, which do you prefer, carry optics or limited?
Limited. I prefer iron sights for sure. It's just something that I want to become a lot more proficient in, and shooting a dot is good cross training for that. If you are working on shooting target focus with iron sights, which I am in the painful process of transitioning over to right now, full time is target focus. So they both have their benefits, but right now the heat is in carry optics for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The heat is so deep in carry optics, it's absolutely ridiculous. There's just so many people that are advancing so quickly in that division, and it has nothing to do with the division being easier. It's just more attractive to people, and for whatever reason, and people are taking to it and putting the time in, and it's getting kind of out of control.
Mm-hmm. Well, it definitely shows. I don't like participation is crazy throughout the whole nation. I mean, I don't know if open outbeat carry optics this year at nationals for.
I believe it did participation wise at nationals, just by the numbers, but not by much.
Yeah, and then you're just kind of limited by match size because you put big divisions with each other because you put PCC carry optics. Now, what did you think of that, the layout for that PCC carry optics together?
I don't agree with it at all. I heard justifications for it, and they didn't make sense to me. But I really believe that PCC should be its own standalone tailored match to really test the capabilities of the gun. I'm not saying it doesn't have a place in a pistol match, but for a nationals, I believe it should be standalone. It's just, to me, a very different discipline, and it's different skills that need to be tested.
Yeah, I'd agree. Definitely. I mean, I have heard some PCC shooters say that, I mean, they don't agree with us, but it's definitely, I agree. It'd be nice to see PCC design stages to kind of test everything, like the hosing, moving around walls, barricades, longer distance for the PCC, and, make it a little different. I mean,
right.
And they might not like it because it's not a pistol match for a rifle.
Well, yeah. And I shoot PCC a little bit, but I'm not a PCC shooter. But my opinion might not be valid on that.
Excuse me. But it's okay. We all are entitled to everyone's opinions, right? We just don't have to like them, right? So that's one thing. Now, Lafe, what are your kind of current goals right now in shooting?
My current goals are to make GM in single stack and production. Really not sure if I'm going to have the time to devote to that this year. I'm closer in single stack than I am in production. I'm master currently in both of those, but the difference between master and GM is enormous. It's a huge time commitment. You're not going to get lucky and make GM. There's no way.
Right. Now, what draws you to single stack?
I enjoy the puzzle of low cap. I really enjoy the stage planning and breaking things down, and that's what I really like about production. I like the simplicity of production, the simplicity of the gear, and the simplicity of loading ammo and all of that. But single stack takes that to another level when you're shooting major power factor and getting down to 8 rounds. It can be very fun, and there's a lot of unfortunately stage designers that have gotten pretty lazy and do not design stages that end up being at all interesting for single stack major. And that was one of the other reasons I wanted to do it. I think it makes me a better stage designer and match director, having a respect for what it takes to make a stage interesting for shooting single stack major.
What you're saying is people don't like 4 targets arrays. They just don't like that.
No. Well, no. But then there's also a lot of stages that you see where you'll have the opportunity to shoot like 12 to 14 rounds from a position, and it does not break up well, even though you technically are legal by definition on the stage requirements. It does not make for a good stage for single stack or even production.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a lot of the reason. It's hard to quantify, but a lot of the reason people are going away from shooting low cap in general is the stage designs are just not that good.
Because they're all designed by like a PCC or an open shooter who maybe has to reload once.
Maybe. I'm sure there is some of that. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what all the reasons are, but you can definitely tell when you get to a match if the match director or the stage designers have an understanding for low cap or not.
Mm-hmm. This is great that you're talking about this because it's a great segue. Now, you're being a match director. What would you call your style? Do you have, if you have a style? Because I know if I talk to Jeff Garrick, his style is options. It's always options.
Yep. I don't know if you can call options a style. It's a goal for sure. Real feasible options are not something that is easy to achieve, but it is possible. Some people don't think it's possible. They think there's always just going to be a dominant way you're going to shoot the stage. And I've disproven that and seen it disproven at multiple matches. There's been stages at the majors that I've put together. I've been the match director for the Kentucky Section Championship the last 2 years and the Area 5 Championship the last 2 years. And sitting behind some of these stages that are option heavy stages and watching over the course of 3 days and seeing people shoot it in 5 legitimate different ways that ends up being a wash time wise. And it's just playing to that individual's strengths. That's really cool to see. And that's the feedback I've gotten on some of those stages. And there's different techniques you can kind of implement on stage design to make those options feasible.
Mm-hmm. Now,
but I don't think I have a style overall. Diversity is important from stage to stage, a good balance. I don't like having arrays of 3 or 4 targets right next to each other in a position. I think if you can design a stage, the same exact shooting area, the same exact walls, and set it up as a really, really solid 18 to 20 round stage, and it can be really interesting and have options. And you can throw filler targets into that same stage without changing anything else and just kill the options and make the stage a lot less interesting. And the targets are totally unnecessary. They add nothing, if not take away from the stage.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't necessarily, I think you're going on the same thing. You don't necessarily agree that more rounds is more better, because
I don't at all. And I think just the last 2 years of people being sensitive to their ammunition consumption has opened a lot of match directors' eyes to that you don't have to have like some monster match level round count for it to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because no one's got the wallet for that.
No.
Not if they want to shoot more than one match in a year. No. That's for sure.
I didn't have a single 32 round stage at Area 5 last year. There was a 31, a 29, and then the rest were under 20, 24.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was your favorite stage from Area 5 last year?
Probably that option heavy stage. You weren't at Area 5 last year, were you?
No, I watched enough videos though to probably know what you're talking about, though.
Let's see. It's hard to pinpoint a favorite one because they were all so different. Mm-hmm. There were some high-paced, they weren't hoser, but they were still high-paced, kind of small shooting area, but a lot of movement within that shooting area, and they flowed really well. There was a stage that I thought was interesting. There was a pole rope port in the center of the stage, and you had to hold the rope to keep the port open. And there was a swinger and 2 pieces of steel and then a low boy target right through that port. So it pretty much forced a lot of the pistol shooters to shoot the swinger strong hand only, which was something I was trying to accomplish without mandating it, because mandating single-handed shooting in USPSA is very difficult with the way the rules are written currently. I believe that needs to be revised. There's really not good options to do that, because currently you're only allowed to mandate the last 6 rounds of a field course can be shot strong hand or weak hand. And anything other than that, you have to kind of get creative with props and things like that to kind of force it, but it's still not required. So just things like that are a little different. I don't know if I have a favorite one particularly.
Now, is there one more specifically difficult to set up or kind of like get it to feel right when you're putting it on the ground?
Not really. I'm pretty meticulous when I'm designing stages to make sure that I'm doing everything to scale and I'm laying everything out exactly how it's going to be on the ground. I use 3D stage builder stuff, and I created my own custom rulers that match the scale of those elements. And then I have accurate dimensions of all my bays, and I have model berms for each one. So I set the actual bay up on a tabletop to the real dimensions, and I put all the elements down there at the distances I want them. And I go in there with straight line sticks and shoot lines of sight on everything to make sure everything lines up. So there's really no surprises when you go to set it up on the ground. That little bit of extra attention to detail on the front end pays off big time on setup week.
Oh, I can imagine, especially knowing the actual dimension of a bay. So it's not like you have someone build a stage or design a stage, and then you're like, how the hell am I going to make you fit in this tiny ass bay?
No, that's a recipe for disaster. You don't need those surprises the week leading up to a major match.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, so do you think that 3D stage builder kit is absolutely worth it? Or if you didn't have it, would you use like SketchUp or something?
I used to use SketchUp, and SketchUp is great in a lot of ways, because you can do a lot of the same things. You can take your bay dimensions and put it down as a template, and you can drop yourself into the stage and look at perspectives and stuff. I just visualize it a lot better when I have it like that in front of me. And honestly, it gets me away from my computer. If I don't have to sit staring at my computer monitor for hours, I'm more excited to do that than I would be to sit here working on SketchUp. The advantage of SketchUp is you can save and tweak and pull elements out of one model and put them in another model. And there is some time saving to that. If you set something up with 3D Stage Builder and then take pictures of it and knock it down and then want to change an element, you either have to Photoshop it in, which I do sometimes. I'll Photoshop different elements in and out, but it's not as conducive to making changes down the road.
So it's almost kind of like you just got to build the stage and then just like sit on it for a little bit and then before you're like, oh, I'm done with you. Take my picture and call it a day.
Yeah. My main the 3D stage builder stuff is great. My main criticism of it is I wish the designer of it took the time to make it a scale that makes sense. Like, it's not any kind of engineering or architectural scale. It's some arbitrary scale that it's not like a 1/4 inch equals a foot on the ground or anything like that. That's why I had to make my own custom ruler to be able to actually measure stuff out. I think I asked the guy about it one time, and he's like, yeah, I just made it the scale of a Lego man, which isn't scale really at all.
Especially since that was your kind of like your job or what you went to actually be educated in when, with architectural stuff. It's probably drives you absolutely insane.
It did drive me crazy, but I've gotten past it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, screw it. Well, at least you figured out a solution, to have the ruler and all that.
Yeah.
Now, for your locally monthly matches, are you the only one designing stages, or do you have like a committee who kind of helps out and picks stages, or you have someone who volunteers?
I have one other guy that throws ideas to me that's really good at kind of doodling stuff on the fly, and he has like his own language when he's just like scribbles stuff down that I've had to learn to decipher. But he's really good at coming up with very interesting short courses and speed shoots, because he comes from a background where they would run a 10 10 to 12 stage local at a range that only has 4 or 5 bays. So they would nest multiple stages in the same bay. And he's really good at those small type stages. But anything medium and long course beyond that, I'm designing all that stuff right now.
And I bet it does definitely help when you have someone who can you can like trust them to put like a small speed shootout and be like, all right, cool. I don't have to worry about one bay.
Yep.
Now, how has being a match director changed you as a competitor?
It's made me local match director or major match director. I'll take it from a major match director standpoint. It has made me very, very appreciative of good staff. Staff that really take pride in what they're doing are worth their weight in gold. And not that I didn't appreciate their work before, but just knowing how much easier it makes your life, knowing you have a solid group of staff working your match that's a game changer. Because the staff can absolutely make or break a match.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you've got not like veteran CROs, even range masters working as CROs. You just, I guess, takes the burden off your shoulders just a little bit.
Yep.
Be like,
yep.
Especially like, if you've got Walt Pagel or Gary Johnson there, I mean, it's definitely reassuring. I mean, I just listeners probably don't care. I just joined BSC, Brooklyn Sportsman's Club, so I can get to know Walt and pick his brain and learn things.
He's a good one to learn from. I've learned a lot from Walt, and he and Svetlana have worked all my majors over the last 2 years, and I'm working all their majors this year up at Brooklyn.
Well, it's good. I'll be seeing you. We're at least squatted together for one. That's for sure.
That's for Mitten.
Yep. I don't know if I'm going to shoot I don't shoot production. I don't know if I am, since they changed what they're going to do. So we'll see.
Yeah. I'm going to stay with single stack because it's still leading up to Classic Nationals.
That makes sense though for you though. But I would actually have to take optics off guns to shoot production. But that's okay though. I mean, I'm excited for that match.
Walt is a fantastic range master. He's a fantastic range stage designer. There's a lot to learn from Walt for sure.
Yep. I was emailing him today, asking when set up for we have our first local match on Sunday. So nice. I asked him, like, when set up. So we'll see. He's supposed to be there Friday, and then I think the rest of us are coming up, be able to go on Saturday and finish setting up. So get to know the crew and
good
whatnot.
That's a really good group.
Yeah, and what was it? Ken, who's running the Michigan Sectional. He's really nice. I met him while Walt was down at Race Gun Nats, because for some reason we don't run classifiers at this club. We just do it at the end of the year at one match. Yeah, I don't know if I might put a bug in Walt's ear and be like, just let me set up the classifier stage. I've got all the tape measures and well, because for some reason Ken says that Walt doesn't like setting up classifiers, which I can understand. They look to be a pain in the ass sometimes.
They can be, depending on the classifier, and especially that's one criticism that I have about the org. They're getting better about it, but there's some year ranges of classifiers that I don't know who dimensioned these things on paper, but they make zero sense the way that they're dimensioned. There's no origin point that everything's measured off of. It's all these arbitrary lines measured off of other arbitrary lines, and it's a mess. There's some stuff that needs to get cleaned up.
Yeah, they probably just started scribbling and be like, all right, just print this out and call it a classifier, name it, and give it a theme, I guess, right? Now, Lafe, you're a very busy person, but do you get to still practice regularly, like live fire or dry fire?
I've been trying to dry fire regularly. I have not had much time to live fire, and that is something that it's painful to even think of coming to terms with it right now. But right now, I have to focus on the business primarily. I owe it to my customers to put all my time into that right now, and it does not leave a lot of time to advance my proficiency in shooting, which is painful to me because that's what I got into this for in the first place. But what I need to do is just be a lot more disciplined when I do train and a lot more disciplined when I'm shooting matches, and just shoot at the speed that I'm seeing things rather than the speed that I know I used to be able to shoot it.
Right. And I mean, the speed of sight is probably going to be the best thing you can follow at this point, and just be like, well, it's going to see those alphas, or, allow that acceptable sight picture, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You might be off the pace a little bit, but you may be able to make ground by the other guy fucking up.
Yeah.
Now, you are dedicated to your customers. You are a very busy person. You are a one-man shop. And if anyone doesn't know this, Lafe is by himself, guys. Don't send him an email. He's working. How do you get very many emails, like weekly? Like, where's my holster?
Well, no, I do. And they're justified. Mm-hmm. I'm behind where I want to be right now, and I'm working as fast as I can without cutting any corners. I will never take a route that leads to what I consider a subpar product leaving the door. It's just not something I'm going to do. I don't get as many emails anymore because I have instructions on my website how I prefer people to contact me. And I'm not going to say that on here, but if you need to contact me, go to my website and go to the contact section and follow those instructions. My company email, the contact form that was on my website, just got totally inundated with spam. And I would spend every day going through about 250 emails to find 5 emails that were actually from customers. And it just got ridiculous.
Well, at least you actually have like a decent way of contacting people. Well, people can contact you now because I found it.
Yeah.
So that's actually good.
No, it's right there, and the instructions are clear. And I created a separate phone number just for the company, and I prefer to be texted on that phone number because I don't have time to be answering the phone all day. Especially I'm out in the shop running machines. I just can't be distracted like that. So something passive like text messages keeps everything in one place. It keeps the spam away, and I'll be able to respond to you usually same day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a very smart move, because it takes 2 seconds to reply to a text or read it, and just like, all right, make a mental note, move on. Yep. Now, are custom prints super popular, or are people okay with what's on the website?
They're pretty popular. If I had to put a percentage on it, it's probably less. It's probably about 5% of people that want custom prints. And it doesn't really add to the lead time. It does add to the cost. I had to raise my price on that from what I had it at originally, because I really wasn't charging for design time before. But depending on the complexity of the print and how I need to manipulate it to get it to fit appropriately on the holster, it can be pretty time intensive. Mm-hmm. But if you have anything in mind, any kind of logo or graphic or something, you can reach out to me, and I'll see if it's feasible. I've done some pretty interesting custom print holsters.
Now, if you're going to say anything, what is your preferred format for people to send things to you in?
Any image file. I do everything in Adobe Photoshop, so pretty much any image you can send me, as long as the resolution's decent, I'll be able to work with it.
Fair enough. That's good. I mean, that makes it easy, because I know some people prefer certain files, like a JPEG, PNG, or a weird, other file, like a vector or whatever.
No, everything's raster based that I do, but I can convert vector stuff if you send it, but most of the stuff is raster based.
Gotcha. Now, what is the boldest color scheme you've ever made on a holster?
Boldest? Probably the most attention grabbing one was for, and this was intentional, it was for Brennan Conway. It was for a Koenig TP9 SFX. It was a hot pink exterior with black GX mosaic printed on it with a zombie green interior, and you can't miss it. It's bright.
Okay, I've seen that one. I'm gonna put mine down as Jared Fox's holster, because that thing is like delicious, like not Neapolitan sherbet colors. It's
right. Yeah, Jared's is cool.
Yeah, he it definitely is a counter to his personality, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I was surprised when he ordered that. He's like, I had one on display at, I guess it was Race Gun Nationals last year, that was that exterior with a different color interior. And he's like, I want a Shadow 2 holster with that exterior. I was like, really? That does not fit who I thought you were at all.
Right. Yeah, that was a cool holster. I like that holster. I do like seeing a holster picture a day. It keeps the sadness away. Because there's no doctors here. But well, no, she's at work, so that's okay. Yeah. Now, so what's your percentage of Vice to Legacy holsters?
It's biased very heavily towards the Vice. It's probably 95% Vice right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised. You want to hang on? Let me grab this. But we haven't even talked about what the Vice is. I mean, most people know what it is, but video listeners, you can see this fabulous olive drab on black Glock 17 holster Lafe made me. Well, I paid for it. I waited the full time, so suck it, y'all.
You did.
But I didn't. But yeah, I mean, I tell everybody, like, it's worth your wait.
Yeah, and I can explain it a little more here. I've got one sitting here. So
I like that one too.
Yeah, this is my production holster, like Alex was showing you. What makes this holster different is the integration of this clamping cam lock lever. I've got my camera mirrored here, so everything's back. What this does is it allows you to set your unlock retention to whatever you want. If you want a slight click on the trigger guard, or if you just want it a smooth bucket. And then when you flip that lever up, it provides clamping pressure on the trigger guard, and it locks the gun solid into the holster. You can draw through it without damaging anything. You can rip through it, but it's not going to bounce around when you're walking around. It's not going to fall out when you're navigating a stage or anything. And then the beauty of that is once you unlock it, it's right back to the retention you set it at before. So you're not sitting there cranking on thumb screws, trying to get everything just right before you start a stage. Yeah, it's just simple, set it and forget it. And then as far as the holster construction itself, it's double layer. It's the thickest holster on the market. Depending on what colors you order, not all colors are available in the 93 thousandths thickness material that I prefer to use. Some of them are only available in 80. But if you get 2 layers of 93 thousandths, it's the thickest, most rigid, strongest holster you're going to get.
Oh, yes. And I'll tell you, I was very hesitant about ordering this holster until I saw my buddy Tony Salas at a Tim Herron class. And I'm like, you got to show me this thing. And he's like, he was showing it me. And I was like, because I thought, well, I knew my holster was junk. I won't name the company. I think you know who it is. I had thumb screws. It was junk. Whacked out draws. But I was like, well, so then Tony showed me his. I was like, damn, I like that. Well, and the really cool thing is I love ROing people. I love running shooters, and just being able to go, whoop.
That's the beauty of it.
You can just don't have to worry about a gun on the ground or a bungee to strap the gun in. And
yeah, and then the holster uses a universal mounting platform on the back, which is compatible with every commercially available belt attachment right now. It'll work with the Blade Tech Compact pattern, which is what the Boss hangers and the Never Miss Industries hangers use, as well as the Safariland attachments, the Double Alpha, the G-Code RTI. It's already drilled for all of those attachments. So if you want to switch mounting options, you don't have to buy a new holster.
And I think you're honestly the only holster maker that recesses that third screw.
That was a complicated puzzle to solve, how I was going to recess that screw hole. And the whole reason I do that, it's probably not going to be easy to see. This one right here is that pass-through post is recessed to just below flush with the inside of the material there. So if you come in at an angle with your muzzle, you're not scraping up the dust cover or the slide on your gun. It completely saves that from happening. I see some people that don't do that, and a gun's a tool, yes, but there's no reason to chew the inside face of the dust cover or the slide up for no reason.
Yeah, you want your tools to last. You don't want them to be and then they make Cerakote. But yes, I agree. Don't want to be beating up your tools. Now, have you had any holsters returned to like damage?
Not a couple, but it was things that these individuals admitted to doing. Matt Hempel sent me one back because he fell and snagged the holster on a wall as he was falling and damaged something on it. And I actually I tried to repair it, and I did more damage to it trying to repair it. So I ended up just making him a new holster.
How would you repair a holster? I'm just curious. How do you repair a Kydex?
Well, what happened with his is this area, when he fell, he snagged this area on the edge of a wall, and it flexed so hard that it delaminated right there. The two layers came apart. Mm-hmm. And I have adhesive. It's called cyanoacrylate. It's a very, very thin viscosity. It's thinner than water. And I can wick it in to areas to mend them back together. But unfortunately, what happened when I was repairing his, and it's super strong, I wicked it in this area, and then it bled out one of the screw holes and then went down the face of the holster and flash cured. So there was a big glue drip down the front of the holster. So that's unacceptable. So gotcha. I made a new.
Well, that makes sense. I would just like, when I break a holster, well, if it's crap, it just gets thrown in the trash. But
I wouldn't fix a crack or something like that.
Oh yeah,
but
no, absolutely.
As far as I know, there's not been a single one that's failed in that way, that's cracked at the mounting platform or anything like that. And I've got guys running holsters for multiple years now that are tough on gear, and they've not broken them.
Oh yeah. Now I do have some questions from the listeners. I have to preface this one first. This one's from our buddy Mason, right? He's like, can you make a holster for a 320 with an Odin Armory thumb rest?
I hate you, Mason.
He said you'd say that.
Yeah. These companies are getting out of control with these thumb rests. There's some of them that my P320, the full size holsters and the X5 holsters are fully compatible with the Go Guns gas pedal and the new Align Tactical thumb rest. That's not an issue, but man, that Odin one that came out is enormous. It's like a full vertical wall off an open gun. That is a shortfall in the rules, in my opinion, that Carry Optics doesn't have a box that the gun has to fit in. And it opens up that loophole to giant thumb rests. And I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I agree. Like IDPA has a box. Why can't Carry Optics has a box? Like
you just cut out the IDPA. Yeah. The IDPA box just allows the optics to pass through the top of the box, but it measures the gun itself. That I believe that should be a thing. It's just the production box with a window in the top of it.
I agree. That's maybe as members we can kind of push for that, because I've seen that to be reasonable and fair. Instead of
it's very, very hard to roll back a rule though. Once it gains traction, the industry has adjusted to it and they've made products for it. It's very hard to take it away.
Yeah, because I've never heard this Odin Armory one.
I had not either until a customer texted me and asked me about it. I was like, what are you talking about? And I Googled it. I was like, what in the world is that?
Because right now, I think your 320 holster will accommodate those two gas pedals, and then like your CZ holster will accommodate the CZ thumb rest.
It took me a long time to develop it, but I developed a special mold that specifically, it's a Shadow 2 mold that accommodates the Shooting Sports Innovation Nitro fin. It took me a long time to get it to work, but I did get it to work, and I think I'm the only holster manufacturer making one other than maybe Ghost. I think Ghost might make a compatible holster for that. And then I can do a modification to my regular Shadow 2 mold to make it compatible with the Eamon-Tech thumb rest. But the reason I don't like just selling one holster that works with all of them is it ends up being a compromise somewhere. You end up with the holsters with so much offset built into it to clear those thumb rests that you have to put much shorter spacers on the offset of the hanger itself. Like the Nitrofin, if you're the Nitrofin Shadow 2 holster, if you're going to use that on a boss hanger, you have to use it with 1/4 inch spacers to have a chance of being within the legal offset limit within the rules. And that just gets to a point where if you don't need that, if you're not running the thumb rest, you're better off not having the holster that's made to accommodate it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Cause with a previous holster, I was I don't know how, using a boss hanger, standard boss hanger, I almost didn't make the requirement with that other holster.
Yeah.
It was like, how?
Yeah.
Like, it was whatever, but it was a pain in the ass, but yours came. So that one, luckily I was able to gift that other holster to a friend. It's like, oh, sure, I'll take your holster. There you go. Have it. Fucking, I'll ship to you for free. Fucking have it. But, yeah.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that.
Yeah. He knew you'd be mad about that one, but I was like, what the fuck is this thing? But, what Tamfo Timmy's asked, how can we help you, make more holsters?
There's a lot of factors that play into that right now. I'm working out of my home shop at the moment, which is an ideal situation, but I'm outgrowing the space. And that wouldn't be as big of a deal if the real estate market wasn't as jacked up as it is right now. We had planned on, at this point, buying a different house and building a shop on a piece of property, but we cannot come to terms with overpaying 20% for something right now. It's just not happening. So with that in mind, I'm also extremely hesitant to hire a stranger and bring them into my house. I don't like that idea at all. And there's probably zoning issues related to that. There's no zoning issues with me working for myself where I live, but having employees would become a zoning issue. So really, I just need to keep pushing and ride this out until the real estate market gets better.
Now, I know you probably thought about it. Would closing your books for the time being be an option for you?
I feel like that would be, it's an option. I don't like the thought of that. For the most part, everyone's being very patient and understanding about my capacity right now. I don't really want to just close the books and make it look like I disappeared. But I just need to communicate with people that this is the situation right now. I'm backlogged about 275 orders right now. And I'm pushing them out as fast as I can. I'm shipping between 8 and 10 orders a day, 5 or 6 days a week right now. So I will catch up.
It's inevitable. You'll catch up, which is a good thing. So you're telling me not to go after this call, order 3 more holsters, right?
Go ahead and order them with the expectation of.
No, the running joke is it's like I should order next year's holster now, but not to pick on you, but it's like
no, I understand it. It's painful to see people say stuff like that, but
it's worth the wait, dude.
It's an unfortunate reality of my situation right now, and I want to make sure the quality it maintains its level or gets better with time. So when people receive the order that they placed when they placed it, they're excited when they open the box and they're like, oh, this was worth it. I get it now.
Yeah, it's got that fizz of like, yes, it's here. I can fucking play with it now.
Yeah.
It's like a new gun, right? I'm just like, oh, it's fun.
I spend a lot of time on every holster, on hand finishing everything, and there's a lot of steps that I just won't skip that I think are necessary for the final product to be where I want it to be.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, everyone who has a holster of yours can see that too. I don't think anyone is ever disappointed about like, they don't say, oh, I waited this long, but my holster is fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want anybody to be underwhelmed when they get it. And I don't want to ever get to a point where you have a repeat customer who orders a holster a year after they receive their previous holster and they see a degradation in the quality.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, the quality is getting better and better as I keep refining things. I'm not, I guess I'm mentally not geared for mass production, because in the last year, I wouldn't say that I've gotten faster per holster, but the quality's gotten better in the same amount of time.
But you've been more efficient.
Yeah, I'm getting more efficient, but with the time saving steps that I come across, I end up replacing that time saving with another detail that I add. So it ends up washing out, which that's just the way I'm geared. That's the way I was raised, and that's the way I'm going to do things.
How do you paraphrase what your dad used to say?
Well, the real saying, I've kind of made it a little more listener friendly. The real saying is, at a bare minimum, always make it look like you give a shit. And that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But if you live your life by that in everything you do, you're going to constantly raise your own standards. So your level of give a shit is going to constantly evolve to be better and better and better. But it bothers me when I see somebody do something that they obviously didn't give a shit about whatsoever. And you can tell. And it's just not, in my opinion, it's not a good way to live your life. It just doesn't lead anywhere.
Exactly. It doesn't. And then you're just in this downward spiral of not giving a shit. And then they wonder why things go the way they go. Now, there's some people who are asking, why no love for the Beretta?
It's coming. It is coming. And I know I've told people it's coming, but somebody at my club who has been a big supporter of mine lent me all of his different variants of the 92s, including 2 different variances of the 92X Performance. And I'm working on making molds of them right now. So they're coming very soon. The full size. And I have been a little bit Beretta ignorant, honestly, as to what the variants are in the frames and the slides. And I'm trying to combine as many elements and dimensions to make the holsters cross-compatible with as many versions as possible. It just makes sense to be able to do that. So if somebody has a slightly different backup gun than their primary gun, they don't need a different holster.
Yeah, I could understand why there's so many damn Beretta slide frame combinations.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets them to sell guns, but it's like, damn, like this frame on this slide with this front sight. It's like,
I'm learning.
Cool thing is you don't have to worry about optics because they already come with speed cuts. So
right. Yep, that's not an issue.
And then what was it? Oh, this one's from Matt Hempel. What made you want to start making holsters?
It was pretty much a big gap that I saw in the market. I saw what was out there, what was prominent, and the level of quality and fit that it embodied. And I just saw that it could be done better and started playing around with it. And that's what led me to do it.
So how rough was the first holster?
I think I still have it. Actually, no. The person that I made it for is still using it. And I've tried to replace it for him and like archive that first one because it's not the best representative sample of what I have now. But he loves it, and there's like nostalgia to it that it was the first vice holster. It wasn't rough. It's definitely a couple iterations removed from what you see now.
Right. Was the vice always in mind at the beginning, or was it the vice grew?
It grew. At the beginning, I was just brainstorming different concepts for having some kind of quick release retention because it shocked me that there was nothing on the market outside of like a level 3 thumb brake to achieve something like that. And went through a bunch of different overcomplicated thought processes in my head, and then started realizing some different hardware that I had used in the past. I used to build and race downhill mountain bikes, and there was clamp lock levers on all different things, on wheel skewers, on seat post clamps, and started kind of figuring out how to integrate something like that in there, and came up with the rough idea, and then kept refining it and started adding the little things like the neodymium magnet that I recess into the lever that snaps onto that lower retention screw to keep it from swinging around and things like that. And it evolved into what you see as the Vice currently.
Gotcha. No, that's really cool. No, you just have to, I'm assuming you just drill into the lever and then place the magnet.
It's counterboard with a fixture that I made for my drill press. And then the neodymium magnet is it's a friction fit, and it's pressed in with a 2-ton press, but then it's also secured with a press fit Loctite as well, just as a backup. Without the Loctite, it would more than likely never come out, but with that press fit Loctite in there, there's no way it's coming out without breaking it.
That's pretty cool. Attention to detail, folks. Go buy yourself a Vice holster, like right now. Right now, pause. Go buy one. I mean, yeah, go do you, but quit wasting time. Now, I want to talk about 2021 Nationals for you. Back-to-back race gun national. Well, Carry Optics, PCC, and race gun.
Okay.
Now, I've got 3. We're going to answer this question like 3 times, but how was 2021 Nationals for you as a competitor?
Demoralizing is probably the word for it.
Why you say that?
I really didn't have time to train. I was running a booth, and it was only the second time I ran a booth at Nationals, but I really put a lot into prepping that booth and getting product to display, and then running the booth while I wasn't shooting. So juggling running a booth and shooting the match is a lot. It's just a lot of spread focus, and it isn't very conducive to performing well. But it was very beneficial to get out in front of all of those existing customers that were at Nationals and meeting a lot of people that became customers. It's something that I think has maybe been missing in that specific market sector from Nationals. I sold a lot of product down there, and just generated a lot of interest. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to manage my own shooting expectations when there's all those other outside factors playing into things. I just expect myself to rise to the occasion and still shoot a good match. And it didn't really work out that way.
Okay. Now, what'd you think of the stages?
They were a big improvement over the previous year. I liked that they brought in multiple designers in the different zones. Walt Pagel was the designer for Zone 1 or Zone A, whatever they called it. Mm-hmm. And his stages were very solid. I forget who was the designer for Zone 2. I'm not familiar with the gentleman that did that, but those stages, for the most part, were really good. And then Shannon Smith was the designer for Zone 3, and he is a fantastic stage designer. He went a little overboard on the shot difficulty on a couple things, but I think he admitted that after the match, that he realized he messed up a little bit on the difficulty of some of the swingers.
Yeah, but like it was half hip six.
half hip six at 20 yards, and they were fast, and they were on big arcs. But I thought the balance was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Compared to the last couple of years Nationals.
Now we're gonna be a little nitpicky. What, as for stages, what could have been better? Because I mean, there's always something that could be better.
There were some gimmicky targets that I didn't care for. In Zone 2, at least for race gun. I don't remember if it wasn't this way for the Carry Optics PCC Nationals, but there was this weird double swinger. It was on the same swinger, but it had like two or three targets and two hardcover targets all swinging together.
Is this like the hourglass stage?
Yeah, I think so. It was very strange. I didn't see the point of that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really interesting. It was just, that was like a survival position on that stage. I would say that as far as the stage design and construction, it was pretty good overall. There's not enough bays at Talladega for that size match. So there were some issues with some of the double stage bays creating big backups. And one of them in particular in zone 3 was a speed shoot with two clamshells that were, I forget if they were activated off stomp pad now. Yeah, they were activated off the same stomp pad. And the timing of those two clamshells changed dramatically from day to day. And they were constantly readjusting it. And that stage should have been thrown out. Absolutely should have. And somehow it survived the match. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't have happened.
If I'm right, that was Carry Optics. Because I think well, no, I'm sorry. The race gun was like drop turners, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I forget if they might have been drop turners. They were drop turners. And the exposure timing was changing pretty significantly.
Mm-hmm.
But anything like that is blatantly inconsistent needs to be removed. I don't understand how that happened.
Right. Especially when we talk about competitive equity. I mean, I know that's a big speaking point for you, is competitive equity.
Yeah.
As we should with this sport. I mean, we want everyone to have the same fair shake every time that stage and consistency is part of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, as a business owner, how was Nationals?
I thought it was beneficial. I'm still weighing out exactly the economics of running a booth and sponsoring Nationals for a company my size, because it's not a cheap venture at all. It's a pretty big, for somebody my size, it's a pretty big contribution to the match. And then it's a big effort to get all the stuff down there and have everything on display. And if you really break it down into the simplest terms of your expenditure versus your revenue generated just at the match with merchandise that I sold, it was break even. So what I'm trying to determine is what the long-term benefit is. If the exposure is that beneficial, just being in front of customers and being there to answer questions, or if there's a limit to that benefit, because really you're going to see the same people over and over and over again at Nationals for the most part. Mm-hmm. It's the same group of people that's going to be at Nationals minus or plus 10% or something like that attrition. But there might be a point where it's just not anything new and exciting to people. So it might not be worth having the booth there. I'm weighing that out. And if any listeners here have feedback regarding that one way or another, if they thought it was great that I was there, or if they think it might not be the best use of my time, reach out to me. Let me know. I'd appreciate it.
I know Kenzie was excited you were there. I mean, you hand delivered her holster.
Yeah. Yep.
But
now there was a number of people that bought holsters and used them in the match.
Mm-hmm.
Probably at least 10 people.
That's ballsy. I'm going to say that's ballsy as hell. Like
for Nationals, that surprised me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Be like, I mean, if that was the fastest way to get a holster, go to Nationals. Now, for your holster spread at Nationals, did you have like a couple of each gun in some random colors, or?
It was biased towards the popular guns and in different color combinations. And I probably went overboard with the flashy colors because a lot of people don't like that. People just like something subdued. But they get a lot of attention when people are walking by. But that's the other thing I wanted to touch on. Like, if I spend a bunch of time making display holsters, that's just taking my time away from the customer orders, and that's not fair either. That could be viewed as somebody buying a holster at nationals, jumping them in line or something. And I'm sensitive to that, and I don't know if that's really the best way to go. My time really needs to be devoted to fulfilling my obligations to my customers.
Right. Which is fine. I mean, you do sponsor a lot of other matches too.
Yeah, and I'm working on ramping that up this year. I'm sponsoring, I think, every major match within Area 5 this year. I'm also sponsoring Area 3 and Area 4. And I'm sponsoring Battle for the North Coast, Western PA section. I sponsored the Caribbean Open last month. So I'm working on expanding my sponsorship. And I think it's probably more beneficial to reallocate my my expenses for sponsoring nationals to sponsoring other section and area matches. I think that would be more beneficial.
Right. You'll just have to crunch the numbers on the ROI and see how that works, I think.
Yeah.
It's nice to see you at these smaller matches. I met you in person at Ryan Rocks 2021. Yep. That was cool. Yeah. Although it rained like a motherfucker that but not as much as the Caribbean Open.
Yeah. That was a crazy amount of rain.
Yeah, Matt Nash said that they did really well for the amount of rain that they had.
Yes, they did. That was a fantastic match. I came away from that match with a lot of things that I wanted to try to implement in my matches and try to emulate the feel of that match. It was fantastic.
Now, did you prefer the IPSC style feel then, I'm assuming?
I don't know if I have a strong feeling one way or the other. I like those technical kinds of shooting challenges when there's a lot of movement in a stage, but not a high target count. Like, you have to go to a specific position and set up in kind of an awkward position to shoot one target. I do like that. It is a challenge that is not seen a lot in a lot of USPSA matches. And it just really proves that you can test a ton of skills with not a high target count whatsoever.
I definitely, what I prefer with IPSC style is the fact that your short courses can still be, or well, I guess it'd be medium courses really in USPSAs, they're not standing in a box. You're not shooting 6 reload 6. You're shooting these positions and, lowering those hit factors down a little bit.
Yeah.
That, but did you get enough food at the Caribbean Open? And did they give you a takeout bowl?
There were people getting takeout bowls. They made this incredible, it was paella that the range staff prepared there. And the first, I don't know if you saw pictures of it, but the first, I don't know if you would call it was like a giant wok or a giant skillet that they prepared this thing in. It was like 4-foot diameter, and the whole thing was piled up probably 1.5 foot tall. And then to back that up, in case that wasn't enough, they had a 3-foot diameter skillet of the same stuff sitting next to it. And it was amazing.
Yeah. Did you have a bellyache afterwards?
No.
Did you have
margaritas with Fox? But what's that?
Did you drink margaritas with Fox?
There were no margaritas. There was a lot of Corona. There's a pretty funny story about I didn't know that there was such a thing as mini Corona bottles, and neither did anyone else down there. They're called Coronitas. And I dropped Jared off at a grocery store to get beer, and he came out with a case of Corona, and I was like, really, you bought Corona in Puerto Rico? Like, it's just, you could do something better, and you didn't come out with limes or anything. He's like, it's the only thing they had in the case. And we got back to the house, and he opened it up, and these things were like 2/3 scale bottles, like barely taller than his hand. Mm-hmm. It was comical.
So they were really mini beers.
Yeah.
God. But Jared is freaking, he is a Sasquatch. I mean, God. Yeah. Everyone likes it. I don't know. I like how he's so gruff, but he seems like a pretty
He's a great guy. He's a really helpful guy.
Yeah. No, damn, now they're going. Oh, yeah. What are those major matches that you're sponsoring? Are you actually going to be able to attend this year?
I am. Let's see. Definitely Area 5, Mitten, Michigan section, Ryan Rocks, Western PA. What else? I think the Indiana section. I forget now if it's Northern or Southern Illinois. I think I'm going to sponsor both.
Because the Northern Illinois is coming up quick, isn't it?
I think so. I've got to dig into that one. But those are the ones that I'm pretty positive I'm going to be able to shoot. I'm not going to be able to shoot, unfortunately, Area 3 and Area 4. I've got scheduling conflicts with both of those.
Yeah. Ryan Rocks, unfortunately, was fighting Western PA and Area 3. Yeah. Jeff had he was in a rock and a hard place on that one.
Yeah, he was. We were messaging about that whole thing, and people don't understand how much staff overlap within those regions, and you have to plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
And Western PA is a great match and draws a lot of people and a lot of staff, and so is Ryan Rocks. And I really hope that all works out and Jeff's able to get enough people up there for Ryan Rocks.
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't know about Ryan Rocks, you need to know about Ryan Rocks. That is a fantastic match. It is all the proceeds from that match go to benefit the Ryan Rocks Outdoor Adventure Charity, which is their mission is to bring children with cancer into outdoor adventure activities. It's a great cause. It's a great match. Derek's a great guy. You guys should really check that match out if you don't know about it.
And if you're tuning into this episode, go back and listen to the one with Jeff. It was a great episode too. We learned about the freaking origin of Limited 10. Yeah. But Jeff's a great dude. Bob and Kristen, they give back a lot too, and it's freaking awesome. God, that lady, she went through a lot. Even then, Bob had cancer, right? That was the crazy part. God, but they're good people. I'm staffing that match again this year. So unfortunately, I lost my first CRO. Bill Chun passed away. 2021.
Heard about that.
It fucking sucked because I was literally talking to Jeff about him like the day prior or something, and then he messaged me and I was like, "Damn, that sucks."
Yeah,
but he was always a good dude. He always liked. I'm gonna request to work that bay again.
Yeah,
because
it's always interesting down there. The shoot house.
Yeah, he Bill liked it for some reason, so that's the one thing I can do for him is work Bay 6. That's for sure. Let's see. Do I have any other? No, I don't think any more listener questions, but I know I have some other ones. Oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years for the company?
Definitely still growing. I still want to keep focused on that. It's been my full-time job for a year now. Want to get to a point where I can have an employee or two. It's honestly been nice not having employees coming off my previous career and managing too many people. It's been nice not managing anybody, but it's inevitable. So I want to keep expanding my offerings within GX products. I have some ideas of different ways of branching the company out into match production venues and things along those lines, but those are just ideas that I'm working out. And then I want to keep giving back to USPSA. I'm going to be running for Area 5 director in 2024. I'm I'm going to continue in the short term with presidential duties at my local gun club and expanding everything there. Just kind of see how things progress.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's always the cool thing. You know, you never know what's going to happen. And, you know, the next opportunity is coming around the door. You never know. You know, what would be great is, I mean, you get back on the feet and you can have employees or not, you know, and just be able to keep at that comfortable pace and rock it out and grow the business. And hell, you never know. That light holster might actually become a thing. Maybe. Probably not.
Probably not. No.
Did you burn that thing?
What's that?
Did you burn that thing, or is it still in a drawer somewhere?
Still have it. The one prototype. I just I couldn't get excited about it. I spent a bunch of time on it. I don't even like talking about how cool the idea is because it's not going to be a thing. But I was just fundamentally opposed to the whole rule change, and it kept me from getting excited about it. And I had a conversation with Henning Wahlgren, who's been very, very helpful to me, giving me advice and stuff. And I was in my shop one night and I was on the phone with him and I was just looking at this prototype sitting on a bench in the corner. And I'm telling him about it. I'm like, I look at this thing and I can't get motivated to work on it. And he's like, you know that we quit our jobs and quit our careers to do what we actually wanted to do and not do what other people wanted us to do, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, that's right. He's like, then why are you going to do it now? You just started doing what you wanted to do. Why are you going to do something everyone else wants you to do that you're opposed to doing? It's like, well, it's a pretty good way to look at it. If you're not passionate about something, and it's going to show in the final product.
Oh, absolutely. 100% agree. Now, what else do I have? So you're running Kentucky Sectional this year. When are the dates for that?
That is June 15th to the 17th, that weekend.
So it's got to be what, the second or the third weekend, maybe?
Yeah. Yep.
And how many stages are you looking at for that one?
That's going to be 10 stages plus chrono. That's really the sweet spot for a section match.
Single day format?
Single day. Yep.
Staff reset?
Not staff reset. Not yet. There's probably going to be at least one stage that's staff reset to keep the match flowing. But I'm working towards staff reset. The clubs that are able to make that work really effectively, they have a lot of local help, local club members that are able to contribute that time, like Georgia State, which I shot last year for the first time, and it was fantastic. I liked that format a lot. But it is very, very labor intensive. And we're working up to being able to do that if that's the direction we take it.
Now, did the stages seem meh for Georgia? Because
no, they were more intricate than I thought they were going to be. I went into it with the impression that they didn't use steel or swingers or anything just because of the potential for delays, and I was wrong. Mm-hmm. They were full boat stages. That's
pretty exciting because I know I talked to David Lyle. He ran the South Carolina section match for 2021. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting to see, hear about how they did it. But it seems like you might have a staff pool that possibly could do it in the future after you get some things rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Oh, if there was another thing I forgot to talk about, your huts, your activator huts, so I want to call them.
Yeah. Those were inspired by Walt Pagel. I apparently went a little overboard on them in Walt's opinion, but what he's talking about is all the activated targets at my major matches, all the swingers, all the clamshells, drop turners, they all have shelters built over top of them. So if it rains, there's no issues with inconsistencies in presentation or damage to the targets from the rain. And so far, it has not rained once since I've built those. So if it keeps it from raining, I'm going to keep building them.
Mm-hmm.
But if it ever does rain, because you can't bag a swinger, you can't bag an activated target. It's too inconsistent. It adds a bunch of drag and slows it down, and you can't do it. And the waterproof targets, they're okay, but they fail at a pretty quick rate if it's really raining, especially on a moving target. So building a roof over top of them it's a labor intensive solution, but I think it's the best solution.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something Walt does in Brooklyn also.
I'll have to see this because I haven't seen these yet. So, at least what Walt makes. But your huts look cool. Do you have to tear them down, or can you just kind of like push them next to the prop barn?
No, we tear them down. They're pretty. When you really look at how they're built, they're pretty simple. It's 2 wall sections, 2 8-foot wall sections that we already have sitting there for the long walls, and then depending on the width of the swinger, what it requires, it's an appropriate length 2x4 spanner on the front and rear corners connecting the walls, and then a riser and a ridge pole connecting the front and back, and then the appropriate size tarp draped over that and secured down to the sides of the 8-foot walls. So it's pretty quick to put up and tear down, especially after we did it the first time. Like, we have the spanners and the ridge poles stored, already assembled. So now they're a lot quicker to put up once we got it figured out the first time.
Well, that's pretty cool. So everyone, if you want to see those awesome huts, I call them, you can go to the Kentucky Sectional this year in 2022, or whatever major matches that Lafe wants to put on. Lafe, do you have any? We're gonna plug one more thing, but do you have any final thoughts for the listeners?
I don't think so. Thank you, everybody, for supporting me in my business and my matches. I really appreciate it. I'm working very diligently to getting my lead times down, but in the short term, I really appreciate your understanding, and I'm going to keep bringing you the best holsters on the market.
Mm-hmm. Now we got to pay the bills. Do you have any sponsors?
Not officially anymore. I guess the most official one I would have is Lock Grips, but everybody that I kind of work with have just been people that have helped me along the way, and I try to help them in return with product development and testing and things like that. So Lock Grips, Henning Group, Hunter's HD Gold, Brian's been really good to me, and he's got, if anybody is curious about my holsters and they're at a match that Brian's at and I'm not at, he has my holsters on display in his van. So ask Brian to check them out, and if you need to use one, they're available for loan on the match. And then Shooters Connection is local to me, and they've been very helpful to me. That's pretty dangerous living 20 minutes away from Shooters Connection.
Yeah, it is.
I'm there at least once a week. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, we plug them, give them some love. Now, where can the people find you on the internet?
My website is gxproductsusa.com. That's where you can order holsters or find out my contact. I'm also on Instagram at GX Products, and on Facebook, GX Products, LLC.
Someone just had to steal GX Products, right?
Well, it might have been my mistake in the beginning. I don't know. I'm not the most active on social media.
It's okay. Holster Day keeps the waiting away.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's only a very, very small proportion of the holsters that I post. I don't have time to take pictures of all of them.
Oh no, you'd be taking, that's an all day job right there.
Yeah.
Well, Lafe, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been an honor. It's a pleasure. It's been a long one in the making. I appreciate your time. I know you're a very busy person. And I want to thank the listeners for sitting through us chit chat and talk. But if you have comments for Lafe, hit him up at where he's social media, wherever you need to talk to him. You can hit me up if you got comments or whatnot. I will push him on to Lafe if you got them. So until next time, guys, get out and do the things, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.